Good evening. The City Council Local Redevelopment Authority Board meetings are now in session. Today is Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. Today it's 6 p.m. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Father God, we just thank you once again for this opportunity to gather in this place. Lord, we are so honored, Father, to be in your presence and know that, God, you have plans for Riverbank. I thank you for this great council, Lord, and the city staff and all the residents and everyone that's represented here. I just pray tonight, Father, as we do business, that, Lord, we would be able to express, Lord, anything on our heart, but at the same time, know that we're moving together in a direction that you have for us. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Here.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Here.
Mayor O'Brien.
Here. There'll be no changes to the agenda. Any council authority member or staff who has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare their conflict. Saying none, we're going to start with Vicky. We're going to do a proclamation for National Library Week, April 7th through the 13th. Hi, Vicky. I haven't seen you in a long time. All right, this is Vicky Holt. She is our librarian for Riverbank, and she has a great story time and she gets dignitaries to read. The City of Riverbank Proclamation-National Library Week, April 7th through the 13th of 2024. Whereas libraries provide the opportunities for everyone to pursue their passions and engage in lifelong learning, allowing them to live their best life. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or social economic status. Whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the population they serve and ensuring quality of access for all. Whereas libraries adapt to the ever-changing needs of their communities, continually expanding their collection, services, and partnerships. Whereas libraries play a critical role in the economic vitality of communities by providing internet and technology access, literacy skills, and support of job seekers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. Whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Riverbank proclaim National Library Week, April 7th through the 13th, 2024. During this week, I encourage all residents to visit their libraries to explore the wealth of resources available. Signed today. And Vicki, I want to thank you for your services there. They're truly amazing what we do in our small city and collectively throughout the Stanislaus Library. So thank you very much. And we have to get an official picture. Yes. And the council, if you want to join us.
Good to see you.
And Vicki, these are yours.
Yes, they're real.
What a beautiful picture.
You get to say something. And about the one
And Cat in the Hat. Yes, thank you, Cat in the Hat, for showing up. I just wanted to let you know that we have some very exciting things happening in the month of April. Every year we have a Dia de los Niños, Day of the Child. This year we're going to have a bilingual story time, both Spanish and English, and we have a book giveaway and several crafts planned. So that's on April 20th, Saturday, from 2 to 4. So anyway, we do have a garden class this Saturday on the 13th at 2 o'clock as well. They're going to teach about, the master gardeners are going to teach about gardening for pollinators. So that's really important. So that's this Saturday from 2 o'clock. So anyway, thank you very much for your support of the library. Appreciate it. And I love working for this community.
Thank you, Vicki. We love you working for it. Yes. Mr. Neal, you're right on time. Item 7.2, Riverbank Representative Update by Stanislaus Consolidated Fire Protection District Board Director, Charles E. Neal. Good evening, sir.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Give you a copy of it. A southern accent, those names. Stanislaus Conditioning Fire Department received the donation of our facility K9 tank from Thornton's Hope Foundation. Tank has been a wonderful addition to the SCFPD team and has helped provide emotional peer support to not only the San Francisco Stanislaus County Fire Department district staff, but also was able to provide support to staff at Alameda Fire after a tragic incident. We welcome 6 new firefighters and 2 new captains. We had the pleasure of promoting 4 engineers, 1 captain, 1 battalion chief, and 1 deputy chief. The promotions were Deputy Chief Clint Bray, Battalion Chief Scott Burke, Captain Jesse McDowell, Engineer Jordan Abreu, Engineer Brian Baker, Engineer Darren Foster, Engineer Sean Summers. The new hires for the fire department was firefighter paramedic Dominic Marina, firefighter Colbert Bryant, firefighter Jennifer Zabador, firefighter Nicole Lombardi. After 20 years of service with the district, Battalion Chief Eric Dehart retired March 28th, 2024. He accepted position of Fire Chief with the Ripon Consolidated Fire Department. We wish him well in his new adventure, and he will be missed. The SCFPD has been able to send 10 employees to paramedic school through the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG. This is not only has been beneficial to the employees by furthering their education and capacity, but also has enabled us to certify Riverbank Station 26 as an ALS company and continue to certify other Stanislaus County Fire Department district stations as ALS companies. This will provide the quality of care our citizens receive and enhance our life savings abilities. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Are there any questions for him before we move on? All right, Charlie, thank you very much. All right, this time we're going to have public comments for those from the public from now on. We're instituting the comment cards, which are in the back. If you could fill those out. What we are getting people coming on in and talking and either not saying their names or not caring to say them. So at this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within subject matter jurisdiction of the city LRA boards. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented cannot be discussed or acted upon. Public comment, please. And if you haven't filled out a card, please come on up. You can still talk fill them out later. I don't know who you are, Mr. Campbell.
I know you don't. Okay, good evening, council and everyone attending this meeting. I'm Cal Campbell. I live at 2318 Rivergate Drive, Riverbank, California since 1986. I was a council member for 9.5 years for District 3. The area I live in has no neighborhood park. A school used to be used as a park until the district fenced in all schools in the district because of vandalism. 3 years ago, the former Parks and Recreation Director asked me to walk this area to find vacant land for a neighborhood park for the area. We found a vacant lot over 2 acres on Stanislaus and Jackson Avenue. I brought that back to our city manager at that time, and he went in and tried to see if we could purchase it. At that time, it was not for sale by the out-of-town owner. Speed on ahead, our former city manager left us. He was replaced by Maricela up there. And I talked with Maricela about keeping on top of looking at the land, which she did. And so about a month after he left, they put it up for sale. I brought that to closed session to the council. And we talked about it and they all agreed to repurchase the land. It was a total 5-0. However, there was a disagreement on what we should do with it. Somebody on the council said we should put all tiny little houses on it. My comment was, I've been looking for a neighborhood park for our area because there's no school they can go to anymore. And by the way, we are getting more children in our area right now because a lot of people are selling out of our area that are older and moving on. And I didn't have any kids around for about 4 or 5 years. Now I've got about 8 or 10 families around me are doing it, and we're seeing it all over. So meanwhile, we came to a compromise. Now you listen to this, because 4 of you were there, 1 of you weren't. We agreed by the mayor said, well, we'll do it 50-50, 50 for a park and 50 for tiny homes. I have no problem with that. I think that that's fair and reasonable. I have nothing against the tiny homes, but at the same time, if I don't think that we need to put it all tiny homes when our area has no, regional park, neighborhood park, and we need to do something about that. And there's not another lot around there in that particular area. Just to let you know, in the Riverbank's Parks and Recreational Plan, it states that a neighborhood park can be 1.5 acres to 10 acres. There should be an acre of land for every 1,000 people, according to that also. Again, I have nothing against tiny homes. They are used correctly as long as they don't interfere with the residential citizens. And I think this is introducing with our residential citizens. We are the only area in this town without a neighborhood park. So I would like for the city council to bring it back again and face the agreement. Why not put just 9 tiny houses on it?
Thank you.
And have the acreage there for a park? And if you don't, find us a park.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Rich Homer, 2116 Park Ridge Drive, Riverbank, California. You know, California State has had a park equity program for a long time. Back in the 60s through the 90s, developers were required to give 10 acres of land for a public park for every 1,000 people. And I'm not quite sure what that is today or what Riverbank's numbers are. It's been a while since I've been here, but that up in the 90s, that was still being collected. Also, and this is still a part of this California State Equity Plan, that a park should be within a half-mile zone of 1,000 people. Our closest park is I don't know, Savino Park, which is across Patterson and in that complex over there. It's over a mile, probably a little more than that. You know, District 3, I think, probably has the least number of parks in any district in the area. You know, up until recently, like I can remember, I used to take my daughter over to the Real Altura, then it became the Language Academy. And we go over there, shoot baskets, our soccer team had tryouts. You can't do that anymore because the schools are closed down. You can't get into the schools. So that's gone. In fact, we have a partnership with Cardozo School. We paid half for that gymnasium there, and I certainly hope that we're still getting our fair share out of that. Like I said, I don't know. Like Cal said, I understand that there's going to be an area on Jackson and Stanislaus, which is about 2.5 acres. And they're building tiny homes. Once again, I don't have a problem with that. But I do think that I've heard that the developer was going to give 1/12 of 1 acre for a park. Now, 1/12 of 1 acre for a park, my front yard's bigger than that. You know, that's ridiculous. I would think at least 50% or at the minimum, a half acre should be devoted to the park. So that the children, the adults can have a place to go in our area. We're the only area, the northwest area, that does not have another place for a park. The only other option you could have would be to talk to the school district, because that's a big yard they have over at Real Altura or the Language Academy, and see if they would sell property to you for a park. But this seems much easier since you're already on the property. So I hope you will listen to what I had to say tonight and reconsider the action so far.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Karen Conrado. I live on Hogue Road. I just want to come and say again that I'm opposed to the proposed Riverwalk project. On my way over here tonight, there was an accident on the bridge on McHenry to River Road. And it took me a half an hour to get here. And I took shortcuts that I know that everybody else was lined up. It would have taken them another 15 or 20 minutes to get here. So if you put the, whatever, 6,000 or 7,000 estimated cars on the road, you know, your residents are really fed up with the traffic jams. And I think that's something else to consider. You already know my other points of contention with this project. Thank you.
Next, please.
Hi, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor. I'm Olivia Rambula. I am owner of Timeless Real Estate here in Riverbank, and I also am a member of your Chamber of Commerce here in Riverbank. And I'm just up here today just to let you know about some of the events we have coming up for the Chamber of Commerce. We do have one on Tuesday, April 23rd at Perco's Cafe. It's going to be from 4 PM to 5:30 PM and it's a membership drive. So please come on out, support. We'll probably have pie and ice cream like last night. So just trying to involve our Riverbank businesses here and those who do business in Riverbank to come on out and hopefully join up, be part of chamber, trying to become a much more stronger chamber and prevent more or produce more for all of our small businesses to, keep them more active and more community driven. And then also we have a multi-chamber mixer on May 2nd from 5:30 PM to 7:30 PM. And it is going to be at our 108 Sports Lounge here on Atchison Street. And that is going to go, it's going to be for all the multi-member or all the chambers in our area. We just had one last week where over 100 people attended. So we're hoping to get at least a good portion of that to our Riverbank business and support Club 108, who are also chamber members as well. So you're all invited. There'll be snacks. There's stuff to play. There's pool tables, things like that. I've been looking at the pictures. So I'm going to be in there for the first time that day, not sooner. So thank you so much. Just want to invite you guys all out. So we appreciate you if you could come. Thank you.
Thank you. I missed you last night. Mm-hmm. Next, please.
Charles Neal, 2312 Rio Verde Drive. I too would like to say, I back up what they were talking about a park. We do need one. Cal's right. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Romano. It's like a city council gathering back together. You got a lot of ex-city council members here. It's kind of fun to see city officials. I heard that there were props at the last city council meeting in the public comment. And so I wanted to kind of watch and see what was said. As you know, I'm in the land use and development business. I've been doing it for 30 plus years. I've had the great pleasure of doing a lot of projects in the city of Riverbank. And so as we kind of look at the world and we look at what's going on, I always think it's important that there be a few facts that we're able to look at the reality of what's going on. So I didn't really want to do it, but I ordered a book called The Population Bomb. For those of you that know about the population bomb, it was written in 1968 by a Stanford professor who told us that the battle to feed all of humanity is over. In the 1970s and 1980s, hundreds of millions of people will starve to death in spite of any crash programs embarked upon now. This is one of the premier scientists still today in the United States. And the reality is none of this catastrophe has come to pass. And so I think when we look at ag land, ag conversion, how we use our agricultural land, facts are always important. From the 50 years since this book was written, from the period of 1970 to 2020, Stanislaus County has grown from about 260,000 residents to about 550,000 residents. The world has grown from about 3.7 billion to 7.8 billion people. For both of those, that's about 100 to 110% growth rate. In the same period, based upon the Stanislaus County Ag Commissioner's reports, our harvested acreage in Stanislaus County has increased from 780,000 acres to over 909,000 acres. And our farm value has grown from 232 million to over 3.5 billion, a 15-fold increase. When we develop, ag land is paved over, but our farmers are resilient, they're adaptable. We've continued to find ways not only to feed the world, but to continue to grow our crops. And so you would think that even in this window and the prices of food increasing, that what food costs us at the grocery store would increase. According to the USDA in 1970, we spent about 13% of our budget on food. Today, it's about 10%. So we continue to produce food, we continue to grow crops, we continue to use our land more effectively, and we continue to get cheaper and better food, even with an increase in how much we eat out. So I think it's important that when we look at land, we understand that we need to use the land to benefit all the people.
Thank you very
Mayor.
much, sir. Any other public comments?
My name's Randy Richardson from 3126 Stanislaus Street, and I just wanted to remind everybody that our Love Riverbank event is coming up April 27th. It'll begin at 8 in the morning at the Community Center Park, and it's really super important that everybody registers online. It's live right now. It's loveriverbank.com. And if you register and you show up, we'll give you a t-shirt, we'll give you a meal ticket. You'll be able to have lunch on us anywhere at the fair. And we'll also have a cup of coffee waiting for you. And it's just one of those days that I believe I think one of the things I picked up mostly from coming to city council is that we all love Riverbank. And so it's just an opportunity for us to come put some gloves on together and clean up our communities, our parks, and plant trees. And so I just hope everybody just takes a heart and then not wait till the last minute, but register now so that we can be prepared for you in coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mayor, we have some on Zoom.
First one.
Norma, I can't ask him to unmute. Ms. Agers, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Jamie Agers, 7730 McHenry Avenue, Modesto, California. Nice attempt on David Romano's part to downplay the loss of agricultural land with respect to the Riverwalk proposed project. He is paid for by the project proponent, so please keep that in mind. And I would just like to say that the comments from the public and responsible agencies with respect to the draft environmental impact report for the project will stand on their own merits, and we will just see. Thank you.
Next, please.
Mayor, there is no one else wishing to
All right,
speak.
thank you. Seeing no public comments, we'll move forward with a consent calendar. 9-1 waive readings. 9-2 approval of City Council and Local Redevelopment Authority Board minutes, March 12th, 2024. 9-3 acceptance of Sierra House remodel project and authorization to file a notice of completion. File 9-4 resolution to award bid for the Clarabelle Road Overlay Project to George Reed, Inc., and authorize execution of future change orders. 9-5 resolution accepting the public improvements from SCM Hearthstone LLC and Heritage Collection Subdivision. Do we have any comments, questions on the consent calendar? Anyone wishing to pull? Do I have consideration?
I'll just make a quick comment before I make a motion. For 9-3, the Sierra House, it was really nice to see the remodel, how fantastic that looks, and getting a chance to kind of walk through it today. And looking forward to meeting Alan, the house manager. Got a chance to meet Monique, the case manager today, and Seth kind of transitioning into the instructor role. So looking forward to that. Heard that we have 8 homeless ready to go. If everything goes smoothly, they'll start their classes hopefully by this Friday, and they'll have a chance at restarting their life. So looking forward to that, and I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as stated.
And do we have a second or comments before the second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And as we move forward, I think we should probably get a different name than the homeless. They're now more either clients or students.
We are residents.
Residents, that's even more better. All right, item 11, new business, City of Riverbank 2023 Annual General Plan Progress Report and 2023 Housing Element Annual Progress Report of the city's general plan housing element.
Mayor and Council Miguel Galvez and Michael Arroyo will be both with JB Anderson Land Use Planning will be tag teaming this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, city staff, members of the audience. Again, Miguel Galvez, Contract City Planner. I'm here to talk about housing and the city's effort to facilitate the development of housing during 2023. Before I do, let me set the stage. Just kind of review some of the housing data that's out there. Mortgage interest rates currently average about 7.5%. That's up from 7.3% from last year. A 30-year mortgage loan is about 7.5%. A 20-year loan is about 7.26. A 15-year loan is about 6.72%. A 30-year jumbo loan is about 7.53%. That's up from 7.39. So the interest rates have been going up steadily. Right now, a typical loan of $375,000 will require an average monthly mortgage payment of about $2,620. Interest rates are projected to go up to about 8% by the end of the year. When I look at home values, average home prices in in California are about $765,000 statewide and average. Riverbank, according to Zillow's average home value as of today for the Modesto area is about $433,000. That's about 4.5% up from last year. Rents, average rents in the Riverbank area for apartments are about $891 per month. House rents are large. I've seen bedrooms, houses that currently rent about $3,100 for a 5-bedroom home in Riverbank. With inflation, the value of dollars is shrinking, increasing the overall cost of housing construction, financing, and overall living expenses. And if that was not enough, demand for housing continues to exceed the supply of housing, raising housing costs further artificially because of the supply and demand issue. On a somewhat related issue, real estate commissions have been affected with the recent lawsuit that affects the multiple listing services. They're no longer just allowed to charge a flat 6% rate. Each property owner, seller, or buyer has to kind of negotiate that rate with the realtor, and the account, they don't want to agree on that, then they're not represented, then they're at the mercy, or if you will, someone can take advantage of the buyer or seller that doesn't want to pay a commission. And so you get other issues that are associated with home purchases and things like that. As more folks are priced out of the housing market, young folks often wait to move out. Young families move in with parents. Overall, increasing household densities with more generations living under one roof, parents, grandparents, and young families. Well, the report this evening hopes to inform you on the housing production that was facilitated by the city of Riverbank during the calendar year 2023. Michael Arroyo will review the 2023 housing production numbers, and I will highlight some of the key housing programs that the city has implemented to help address this growing housing need in the community. Come on up, Michael.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As City Manager Marisol mentioned, Michael Arroyo, Contract Planner with the City of Riverbank, Assistant Planner with JB Anderson Land Use Planning. So before you this evening for your consideration, as the slide points out, is the 2023 General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report. So what is this report all about? Well, for the last 55 years, the state of California has required all local governments, both cities and counties, to adequately plan for the housing needs of all in their community. So as elected officials, you know that the housing element is a component, or rather one component of the general plan. The general plan is the city's guide. It's the city's blueprint for how the city will grow and how the city will be developed. So local governments can satisfy this requirement by having an adopted housing plan, AKA a housing element. Excuse me, I just restated the same thing, I apologize. So we'll move to the next slide. All right, so again, local governments throughout California are required to submit an annual progress report to highlight the progress which has been made towards increasing its housing stock and meeting the goals established and outlined in the general plan and housing element. The annual progress report must be submitted to 2 state agencies, as the slide points out, one being the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the other being the California Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD. In most cases, not always, the annual progress report is sent to these 2 state agencies only after it's presented to the local legislature. For a number of reasons, in local legislature, that's you, the city council. For a number of reasons, that wasn't the case, but most importantly, and in an effort to keep the city of Riverbank in compliance with the state, after the annual progress report was presented to the Planning Commission on March 19th, this annual progress report was submitted to HCD to the state on March 29th. So for some context, housing plans or housing elements typically cover a period of 8 years. Now this span of time is considered a housing element cycle. So for our reporting year, 2023, it not only falls within the 5th cycle, but it also concludes the 5th cycle housing element. Excuse me. The 5th cycle housing element spanned from 2015 to 2023. Given that, again, 2023 was the final year reported in the 5th cycle housing element, we have the unique opportunity to not only look at the reporting year of 2023, but also to look at the entire 5th cycle housing element. So for the reporting year, 2023, how do we do? So the city received 6 architectural site plan review ASPR applications. Now the city received more applications, but these 6 were specifically for housing development, okay? So the top 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, all of those architecture site plan review, those were approved in our reporting year for a total, if you can do quick math, 202 units, okay? But that ASPR 08-2023, it's pending because the applicant is currently revising submittal materials to be more consistent with the city's general plan. So that's a good thing. And one note though, should this application move forward after the submittal materials are revised, if it's approved and the housing units, the 40 that you see there are approved and built, those will not be reported in the 5th year. Rather, they will be reported in the 6th year. Yes, sir. So let's focus on the top half. The new home construction. So for the city of Riverbank, 140 total building permits were issued in 2023. Again, strictly for housing units. These are not for new construction of swimming pools or solar panel, etc. It's strictly for housing units. 135 for single family dwellings, 4 for accessory dwelling units, 1 for junior ADU. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to kind of zoom out. We're going to take a step back and look at the entire 5th cycle. So if you added those percentages up, excuse me, well, they add up to more than 100%. And the reason is because those percentages reflect the respective income category. So we see, now remember, again, this is for 2015 to 2023. 10% of the very low income goal was accomplished, 18% of the low income, 2% of the moderate, and 80% of the above moderate income, because primarily what we see here in Riverbank, the market bears what the market bears, right? So by and large, single family dwellings, which are above moderate income. One other note, it's not shown here, but additionally, there were 109 permits for, again, above moderate income for single family dwellings, that those permits were final. They received certificate of occupancy, again, for single family dwellings. So here we see the regional housing needs allocation for the entire 5th cycle from 2015 to 2023. If you focus your attention on column 1 on the left, we see the total regional housing needs allocation established for each income category, 1,280 is what the Stanislaus Council of Governments and Housing Community Development Department said this is for the fifth cycle, the city of Riverbank. This is what their target is, spread across all of the income categories. Now, if you focus on column 3, significantly lower numbers, but we see 33 for the very low, 38 for the low, 5 for the moderate, and 428, which totals 504 combined units for the entire fifth cycle. So that leaves a total of 776 remaining units that, that just were not completed. So the 504 represents 40% of the total allocation of the regional housing needs allocation. Now that 40%, I think that's an important note to be conscious of as we transition into updating the sixth cycle housing element. We don't want to get caught on the allocation number so much as like meeting that number necessarily. The imperative is that the city strategically or adequately plans to meet the new number for the sixth cycle housing element, which is 3,591 total units spread across all income categories. So that's just as the city transitions, it's currently being updated. So that's just one note to keep in mind.
Sorry, Michael, you said to plan and meet those numbers, correct?
No, I'm
So
sorry.
we should be shooting for those goals,
Well,
correct?
ultimately, yeah. What the housing element must do is it must show that the city must strategically plan for, not necessarily meet those numbers. They're not. The city's not required to build, develop, or anything like that. It's just to show that the city, whether it's their vacant sites or underutilized sites, can adequately meet that number. Not necessarily develop that number.
Have it available.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Through higher densities, whatever it may be. Yes, sir. And here is excuse me.
Talk to it if it's missing.
Yeah, so, Miguel's gonna highlight the key housing programs. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
And before you do, Miguel, where did you get the statistics on medium house cost in Riverbank current? What is the starter home going for right now?
I got that information through Zillow. I looked at the local area,
You got some of Modesto in there.
yeah,
Our medium household is 440,000, starter home, 440,000, which is slightly above your medium home. But that's not, if you look to see what the cost of a 1,500 foot house is now, it's 600,000 or 599.90.
yeah, Zillow is a little behind, but they're kind of a metric that's used to kind of gauge and
Okay, well, I'm gonna use different metrics in 2
Sure.
days. That's what I'm trying to say.
now, going back to the question, we're not required to build them, we're just required to have adequate zoning to accommodate the arena number. So as long as the city has enough adequate sites to meet the projected housing needs by income category, the city will be fine. Going back to the earlier question from Councilmember Uribe. Table D in the report talks about the housing element programs, and we're required to give a status report of how we did on that. So that's available for your review. I want to focus on 3 programs, 3 key housing programs the city has been successful and they have been exceptional. One is the adoption of the accessory dwelling unit ordinance that has received a lot of interest. A lot of people are interested in adding ADUs, whether they're as part of the building or separate or connected. They're an excellent source. You don't need to buy new land. You just kind of expand, increase the densities. And there's been a lot of interest, and we will continue to see increased demand for ADUs. So that's one key housing program. Another key program is the adoption of the tiny home ordinance. In the planning department, I meet more and more frequently with developers that want to develop tiny homes. tiny homes is kind of a planned development zone where you allow different setbacks and different density requirements, parking. And it creates an innovative product that I think the city should be proud of. There's lots of interest in that. We're going to begin to see products that are developed with that. The other key that we have used is the whole plan development zoning. And that allows innovative housing design, whether it's, multifamily or single family. It gets away from the setback requirements, the parking requirements, and allows more flexibility in development. So these are really key programs that the city has as tools to help address some of the needs for housing development. Let me go to the next slide here. Just to wrap up, the general plan progress report, the housing development annual progress report, they're not considered projects, and so they're exempt by CEQA. Formally, I have to say that they're exempt for the CEQA guidelines. So no environmental review is required for this report. At this point, staff recommends the city council adopt the resolution adopting and ratifying the submittal of the 2023 general plan annual progress report and the house development progress report. Staff's available for questions. Thank you.
Questions? Any questions from the public?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry, I'm looking at table B that was in our staff notes. And where you have the 1,280 RENA allocation income levels. And I noticed that for 2016, the number 71 was taken out. Can you go back to that graph, please? Yeah, that one. So our numbers look a little different than what you have there. So I was just wondering why that was the case.
Let me ask Michael to speak to that.
That by five units.
So the table that you have was pulled from the Planning Commission staff report. That was generated, there were 5 building permits that weren't strictly for housing, right? So those were entered and reported erroneously, but through due diligence, we discovered those in the report. So we removed them because we're strictly reporting for housing dwelling units. So there were 5. It was for, as I mentioned, these are not for solar, for patios, etc. But those were inserted based off of the reports that were generated. So we found those and we removed them, and we didn't report them to HCD, most importantly. So
Thank you.
How is that ADU classified in your housing? It's not a single family dwelling, it's not a multifamily dwelling. How's that classified?
correct, yeah. So it's not above moderate. So as you see there, it's considered moderate income. There's 1 deed restricted and 4 non-deed restricted. The one that is deed restricted was considered a junior accessory dwelling unit. And because of state law, because of the characteristics and regulations or whatever, I don't know specifically, I can find those for you, but it's considered deed restricted, and both junior and full accessory dwelling units are moderate income, so.
Okay, no, but they're separated from the main unit, correct? They're counted separately?
Correct.
Okay.
Each AD unit is considered a dwelling unit, a separate dwelling unit. So we get credit for each ADU as a separate dwelling unit. It's not part of the existing building.
So, I was gonna follow on that. So those who convert garages into ADUs that are attached, are those additional units, or are they?
They would be considered as additional units because they are rentable. They're not sellable, but you can have a separate household in there, and so they're counted as a separate dwelling unit, and we get credit for that.
Okay, good.
Just to add one more to the mayor. So regardless of size and cost, they will always fall under moderate, correct? ADUs.
Well, accessory dwelling units can't exceed 800 square feet, so up to that, or 1,200
Right.
is the max. So if it's, depending on how it's designed, And where it is placed, it's a junior, yeah, it's moderate.
Always moderate. Thank you.
Mayor, we have one on Zoom.
Do we have?
Ms. Agers, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this item. I'm concerned that the city needs to quote the previous speakers, strategically plan for these dwelling units, but you don't necessarily have to meet or build them. Again, another quote from this previous speakers. I'm very concerned that since the year 2016, or for the last 8 years, there's been no progress made in the very low or low income categories, and even the moderate income category, with the exception of 5 accessory dwelling units, which, you know, to your benefit, 5 people decided to convert a garage or, I don't know, add a second story or another bedroom onto their property, which has helped you meet your numbers. But you're seriously not meeting your very low, lower, moderate income category numbers. You're making great strides in your above moderate category income levels, but you're not making progress in the other income categories. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any more?
To me, because I've heard a couple different things, so.
So at the outset, the information that Mr. Galvez presented is just mostly informational, has nothing to do with, you know, in a roundabout way, it impacts, right, what's the permits that are issued. But what the item is being presented is asking council to direct staff to submit this report that we are required by state law to submit. So
I understand that. Thank you,
And
Ken.
Okay.
these are
Yeah.
also state thresholds that, when you talk about low, moderate, very low, can't even exist today based on their explanations of probably a 20-year-old. So that's where we are in reality.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, right, the market bears what the market bears. And as Mr. Galvez mentioned, he's meeting more and more with developers who their aim is not to build custom homes. They're more and more inclined to build smaller homes because that's what the market bears. There isn't such demand for $750,000 homes. I mean, there is a demand for that, correct? But so, yeah. Thank you.
I bring it back for consideration.
Before we go, I want to ask a question.
Sure.
Excuse me. So what are
Sorry.
what are we going to do as a council and as a city to try to address some of the needs? You know, to try to get more moderate income or more low income housing. What are we going to do? Can we talk about it more at one of our strategic planning sessions and come up with a plan of how we can address it? Because we know that there is a need. And we know that people just don't have the money today. And so what are we gonna do?
I certainly would suggest that we have that conversation at a separate council meeting. Council has placed the focus on wanting to provide housing to all of our residents, regardless of income levels. So it certainly warrants a conversation. I can honestly say that the reason that affordable housing is not being built is because it's not affordable for the developer to build, nor is it cost effective for them to build. The cost of construction has risen so significantly that in order for them to recoup their costs, they basically have to sell at market rate. And that is what is selling at this point in time. grants that are available to be able to build affordable homes are so difficult and so far in between for a city like us to be able to receive. And it comes with so much red tape that it literally takes you probably a good 2 years from the moment you start to think about a project like that to going through all of the requirements that the state wants you to meet, all of the CEQA analysis that might need to be considered. If it's federal funding, you have to consider NEPA, which is a totally different environmental review. And then finally getting your approval done is really like a 2-year process. And we can say that based off of our experience with the tiny home villages. It takes a while to get that done. And it just, for a developer to come in and do that, it's not worth their time and it's not worth their money. So
And there
the
is,
only thing we would have to do is look at additional ways that we can facilitate that, whether it be different entitlements that they receive or ensuring that the zoning is already in place so that they don't have to come back and have those entitlements done. And that's what part of this housing element report also does, is when we do our update is you are looking at vacant land and whether it can possibly be rezoned to facilitate that development, so that the day that there's a property owner that's willing to develop, they don't have to continuously come to 3 council meetings plus planning commission just to try to get an approval for their project. So those are policies and programs that we can implement amongst others that are out there that other cities have implemented, like inclusionary housing, where you're basically forcing developers who are building market rate housing to set aside either a certain portion of their housing as affordable, or they pay us a fee, basically a fine for not constructing it. So there are different options that are available to the city and that we can discuss.
I just remember that we've had like first-time buyer programs, but we couldn't get anybody qualified for those because it was just, they were
And we
out,
still can't.
they were outpriced for even first-time buyers. So, and that was way back when, and
Still
8 years
can't,
ago, and
yeah.
it's just, times are really tough. It's
Interest
And
rates are
state-
astronomical out there, and that has priced out every single one of our potential clients. Our housing division sees clients and gets phone calls on a daily basis, all day long, from interested buyers because everybody is struggling out there. We simply cannot have their debt to income ratio just has to be at a certain level for us to be able to loan them the funds.
So it's
And
really
it just-
frustrating
makes
to
it hard.
have those programs and not be able to use them because for what they're intended for, because it's just, they're
I
priced
agree.
out of range. You talked about inclusionary housing but where is, I mean, I don't know, in my mind, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to penalize builders that are trying to do the best they can. I don't know, I've got some issues with that too. Housing is a rough one, folks.
yeah,
Housing is
it's
a
not
rough one.
penalizing. I think you stated if we were going to set aside fees. I think if we look at some of the areas around us that have that, and I think you were going to go do that, and look at what they have done to set aside fees. Of course, it may give up a part of a park, but they will set something aside to build lower income. But the biggest thing is that Governor Brown took away tools that you could have done this. And he took it away thinking that every city was like his in Oakland, where they truly abused RDA. And he took it away because of his experiences. And that would have allowed us to do a lot of lower and moderate income housing without going through a lot of the red tape. We were able to do it with some apartments. And we would like to do some more of those, but it's just the tools were taken away with promises of monies which don't go to small cities like ours. So we have to be creative on that. I know that there are some communities that as housing is being developed, funding is set aside to help establish lower income housing. And I believe we even have an agreement with the 390 townhomes, whether that happens or not. That's just an agreement that does not necessarily have to come to fruition. But that's not what we're here discussing tonight, although it is a good discussion. And how can we do that? And I don't know, we could build tiny communities in the middle of agriculture and call it, lower income or, whatever we want to do. And I'm sure that that is something that we'll see happen more and more. The county has allowed a lot of that to happen. Maybe they'll allow some more and we won't have to. But again, that's a soapbox, by the way. Okay. Any more comments before I bring it back for consideration? Yes, you can still speak.
Probably should be speaking on something like this, seeing I'm Olivia Rambula, owner of Timeless Real Estate here in Riverbank, and I will say that a lot of my buyers have gotten priced out the past few years. And if there's anything that I can do, go with you to the different developments or whatever it is that we need to do to make it more affordable. And I would love to be part of that plan to do that, because we do have a lot of people who they wouldn't have been considered low income, but the pricing has just gotten so high that they have great jobs and they just can't afford to buy a home. And there's two people in a home that are both working with full-time jobs that are great incomes, or maybe it was about 5 years ago. But anything we can do that we can come up with, I would just love to be a part of that, because that is what I do. I try to find people homes that are affordable and homes that they can live in, and can't all be apartments. They need to have homes for their big families. I have 7 kids. An apartment wouldn't have worked for me. So just let me know if there's anything that I can do to help that with that program. If there is a certain committee or anything you want me to do, I'm here to help with that. So please let me know if you need my help. Thank you.
As our housing element update continues throughout the city, there'll be lots of workshops, lots of opportunity for stakeholders like real estate agents, like our developers, to participate. So please watch out when we send out surveys and when we send out community meetings. We encourage everybody to be able to attend and give us your feedback.
There's going to have to be some give and take in some of our areas. For example, schools are going to be getting, what did we figure, $12,000 for a home? That's before you even put a stick in the ground. And then you add another 4,000 for the fire department. Then you add another 4,000 for ag land, Swainson Hawk, the spotted owl if we have any. But you add it up before you even put a stick in the ground, you're at $58,000. So when we get all of them together, we need BIA, we need the fire department, we need the schools, we need the county to see what we can do collectively with our fees. And that's not on the soapbox, that's reality. Okay. Any more discussion? Bring it back for consideration.
I'll make a motion to approve item 11.1.
I second.
We have a motion to approve and a second on item 11. What? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Staff comments, please.
Just a couple for tonight. The city is currently recruiting for a full-time senior neighborhood improvement officer who works on addressing code enforcement complaints and issues that are received from residents. Additional information is available on our website, and the application period will end on April 29th. Just a reminder to all of our residents that our summer watering schedule has started as of April 1st. So odd addresses can water on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Even addresses on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday, both before 10 or after 7 p.m. No watering on Mondays. And thank you to everyone from the city council and the community that have donated items to our Sierra House Day Use facility with the opening of the Sierra House itself. We'd like to encourage everyone to continue to donate. Our Amazon wish list is available on our website. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the Stanislaus Latino Chamber of Commerce for all of their efforts in helping our small businesses here in our community. We just recently hosted their Business 101 workshop where the cities of Modesto, Ceres, Riverbank, and Stanislaus County planning staff provided information on planning and permits that were necessary to start a business here in their jurisdictions. So please follow our social media for more workshops to come. And that is all from staff.
Thank you. Councilmember Hernandez.
Yeah, I am just really inspired by the conversation today, and I feel like just like the tiny home ordinance, ADU, we can really lead the way in the county and figuring out some type of policy or ordinance for affordable housing or creating a program, obviously with due diligence, but I mean, the needs of the residents are simple, and I've been having conversations with Maricela about wanting to present some language to you all, and I would love, you know, if we could be on the same page to support that, to move forward with being intentional. And I mean, I don't know if this is the right word, but aggressive with trying to meet our very low, and even moderate income housing needs.
Councilmember Uribe.
Thank you, Mayor. So April 15th, I'll be having a meeting with the MID. Residents kind of ask, this will be a very educational meeting for me, what it would take to kind of expand services into Riverbank. So I'll be asking some questions about infrastructure development, the approvals kind of needed for that, and some financial planning, and see what that kind of looks like for the city of Riverbank. April 23rd, I'll be hosting a small business meeting at the LRA at Building 18. It'll be from 12 to 1 o'clock. So whether you're a brick and mortar or just starting up at your house, please spread the word. The address is 5300 Claus Road. I'll be joined by Michael from Parks and Rec. So thank you for being there. Herman from SBDC, and multiple chambers will be there as well. So thank you.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
The Stanislaus Homeless Alliance meeting is tomorrow, Wednesday, 5:30 to 7:30 at 1010 10th Street. We will be discussing looking at homeless prevention strategies for older adults. That's it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
For tonight, thank you.
I have a couple. First, water goals from the state. Do we have that determined yet?
No, they're still under public comment. So what the mayor is referring to is that the State Water Board has been looking at refining water usage within each of the jurisdictions in the state of California, actually providing more restrictions as to when water can be used and how much water should be used. So it will actually look to implement, just like when we had the drought, certain parameters that we will have to decrease our water usage by. So those are out for public comment. Should anybody be interested in receiving those, we can forward those to you. But they have not yet implemented them. For Riverbank, what that represents is that they're looking at an almost 50% decrease in water usage. So we've been talking to the state about how those calculations were made, and looking to make some adjustments to that figure, because 50% is a significant amount to ask our residents to reduce their water usage by.
Okay, the Air Board still has, or is re-implementing the clean room filters. For those who do not qualify for it, there are some areas where you can either purchase the clean room air filters, or places like Costco or Walmart may have the kits available that you could build. And then I know we have our own bike month, but May is also bike month for the nation. And Bike Week, I believe, is the second week in May. And if you ride your bike to work, and sign up, you are eligible for some significant prizes in Stanislaus County through Stanis Cruise. With that, that's all I have. Closed session, item 13.1. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Director of Community Development. That's it. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on item 13.1 may do so. You have 3 minutes. Seeing no public comment, we're going to go to closed session. The state gives out such We'll reconvene from closed session, reporting on item 14.1, report from closed session 13.1, public employment. Direction has been received from staff. With that, we are adjourned. Our next meeting is Tuesday, April 23rd.